Hello and welcome. My name is Penny Meckley Porter. I am the owner and founder of Thrive Therapy Space here in Erie, PA, and I've been doing a series on automatic negative thoughts. So this is number 8 in our series, and there are only 9 total, so next week will be the last one. Like I said, this is number 8, and we're calling it Taking Things Personally. So I would like to remind you that we all have automatic negative thoughts. And so, really, the purpose of this series is to help us each, for each of us, start to recognize our own automatic negative thoughts because our automatic negative thoughts cause us great stress. They make life more difficult. It makes navigating interactions with people more difficult. It can make it more difficult to go to sleep at night. It can make it more difficult to face the world when we're really caught up in all of these automatic negative thoughts. So I read recently that we have 70,000 thoughts a day. I don't know if that's accurate, but let's say we have tens of thousands of thoughts a day. When many of our thoughts are negative, as in maybe over 50% or the bulk of our thoughts are negative, when so many of our thoughts are negative, it's difficult, and especially if we believe all of our negative thoughts. Like if we don't really believe them all, that's different. But when we really believe them all, right? So this series is trying to help teach you how to not believe all of your negative thoughts and to discern which ones are negative. So let's get started. Right, last week we talked about mind reading and fortune telling. Right? This time, taking things personally. So, how to recognize when we're taking things personally? Basically, we often feel hurt or angry in response to how other people treat us. So, people often are treating us differently than we expect. So, for example, it could happen at work, at home, with family or friends, maybe all of the above. And it's related to another topic that we talked about a couple weeks ago, and that was shoulding, right? Shoulding ourselves, telling ourselves how we should be behaving because we don't really measure up. But also thinking about how other people should be behaving. So we have these ideas, like for example, at work, we have these ideas about how people should treat other people and how people should treat us. But then people often don't do that, and then we end up feeling hurt. Although it might not come across as hurt, it might just be angry or frustrated or indignant. But there's probably some hurt or other emotions, below that. So these expectations, for example, at work that a supervisor should be supportive. I don't know, sounds like a good expectation to me, but it's not always true. It's often not true, right? I mean, you've probably had some supportive supervisors, and it feels so good to have a supportive supervisor. And when you don't have a supportive supervisor, it actually can be quite difficult. At home, how about that your partner, if you have a partner, but your partner or somebody else in your life should recognize everything you do and should recognize how hard you're working, but they might not recognize that, and that does feel personal. With a friend, maybe that they shouldn't be so critical, because when a friend comes at you and they're critical, it does feel personal. So when people don't behave the way we expect them to, we could feel hurt, angry, frustrated. I mean, think about how you feel. Left out, maybe dismissed. It could be, if you're struggling with this, taking things personally, maybe people say things to you like, just don't let him get to you so much, or I'm sure she didn't mean anything by it, or you just need to learn to let things go. Well, in fact, those things are so much easier said than done. It's hard to let things go. It's hard to not feel angry or indignant or hurt by somebody else's actions. Though it is worth the effort to not let other people take away our peace, right? So picture this. Let's say somebody does something to me at work and it was really quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Insensitive. Somebody does something to me, it's really quite insensitive, and I feel upset about it, including very hurt by it, and I am taking it personally. Let's say they do that, and then I go home, maybe it's like Friday afternoon. I go home, and for the whole weekend, I'm thinking about it, I'm upset about it. Maybe I talk to a lot of people about it, not just one or two people, but I keep talking about it. Then in some ways, they have taken my peace. But another way to look at that is that I've kind of given them my peace, not intentionally, but I've given them the ability to get me stirred up for the whole weekend. So that's what we're talking about with these automatic negative reactions. So, but not taking things personally is not that easy, but that's why we're talking about it. I would like to say before I give some more examples, because I have some examples here, is that one of the ways we cannot take things personally is to start to recognize that it's really more about the other person having bad behavior, or not being kind, or not being consistent, or not being generous, or not being patient. It's really about that person having that behavior. And that person often has that behavior in many areas of life. Though it's true, sometimes that could be targeted, but generally that person is having that behavior in many areas of life, and it's not really about me. It's really about that person and how they're dealing with life, or not dealing with life very well. So, some more examples. Let's say your boss or coworker uses an angry tone of voice with you. Maybe it's real dismissive, judgmental, angry. So you can be just noticing how you would feel about that. Maybe what your automatic thought would be. You're trying to express something very important, something that's very important to you, maybe to your partner or somebody else who's important to you, or friend, and they don't really listen to what you're saying. They interrupt you and talk over you. That feels really personal, doesn't it? Another example. Let's say your parent completely misreads your intentions and accuses you of having some kind of a bad intention, even though your intention was good. Something like, oh, you did that on purpose, or oh, you trapped me in that, or oh, just kind of accusatory. Then kind of noticing how it feels. My guess, well, you think about how it would feel for you, or how it has felt for you in these situations, right? Essentially, I would say it probably feels painful. It could make you angry, frustrated, indignant. And maybe you've watched one of my other talks on understanding your anger, because I really do believe that anger, there's other emotions that come with it. So let's say you are angry and indignant. You also probably feel pain. You probably feel wounded. So, going back to my earlier point, how do we extricate ourselves from taking things personally? Partly it's recognizing or looking for the data to see, does this person do this to other people? That's one question. Oftentimes they do it to other people, and they do it quite often to other people. Does this person behave in this way in a consistent fashion? Oftentimes, yeah, when they get upset, they start to yell. When they get upset, they come in for the kill. They get accusatory. It often is consistent, whether it is with other people or with you. It often is consistent. That starts to say that it's really about the other person. It's not really so much about you. So, how to stop taking things personally? We've talked about, is it familiar? Do they do similar things to other people? Is it consistent with how they've treated others or you in the past? One other thing is, in order to, be taking things less personally, it really is good to notice your own reaction and to take your time with your own reaction and to use your mindfulness practice with your own reaction. So whatever the situation, this person does a thing, and then you feel some kind of way. And I want you to be noticing when this happens in the future, or today we're going to do an exercise, a mindfulness practice on a recent time that this has happened. And we'll have you noticing, how did you feel? What array of feelings were there? And then notice, is it a familiar feeling? Not just is what the person is doing a familiar thing for them to do. Right now we're talking about for you. Is it a familiar feeling? Because oftentimes when we're taking things personally, it actually is quite a familiar feeling. So as a kid, I felt in some areas of my life left out quite a bit. And so as an adult, if somebody at work does something and I feel kind of a little bit excluded, then guess what? It jumps right to feeling left out. They're the same thing, left out, excluded. And when it's something familiar to me, it's often related, as in maybe always, related to other times in my life that very thing has happened. It might look a little bit different, because what happened when I was 8 is different than what happens when I'm 56. But oftentimes it kind of creates that same feeling in me. So this could be an example of a time where you kind of sit with that feeling. Well, you take your time in the moment, you try not to react. And later on when you take a quiet moment to kind of sit with that feeling and explore the different layers of what's going on for you. Because it might not just be about how this person is treating you. It could be about how you were treated in the past. And there could be some key moments in your life where you weren't treated that good. And it could be where somebody was doing something on purpose. And it could be where people just weren't as sensitive to you and your needs as you kind of hoped and needed them to be. One more thing before we start our practice is that oftentimes people don't know how we feel, so they don't even recognize they are hurting us in some way or coming across in way too strong of a way or just causing us pain. So, and in response to that, many of us are a bit, kind of conflict avoidant, hesitant to speak up. And I would say, you know what, if it's somebody who gets angry a lot and gets super accusatory and you cannot trust that person to hold their temper and listen to you, it just might not be a great place to speak up. Especially if you struggle with speaking up, it would be good to find some safer places to speak up before you try to speak up in an area where somebody's likely to get upset and angry, because that can just be hard to tolerate. It's still on them. If they get upset and angry because you're telling them how their behavior has impacted you, and they get super upset and angry, that's still on them. That's their behavior. It's not your fault that they got angry. They made that choice to get angry. Anyway, speaking up is something to consider. So let's go ahead and get started with our practice. So sitting comfortably in your chair, somewhat alert, but also relaxed. Feet flat on the floor if that's comfortable, and close your eyes, again if that's comfortable. And bring your awareness to your breath. Noticing your chest cavity expanding and contracting with your inhale and exhale. seeing if you can notice it kind of in your lungs, but then also in your whole rib cage. Just noticing the way your whole body shifts as you breathe. You might prefer to notice your breath at the nose. So right at the nose, you can feel your inhale and exhale. Or maybe you can hear the inhalation and exhalation, so you can listen at the nose. And just for the heck of it, today, I'd like to throw in a couple of extra deep breaths. So with your next inhale, I'd like you to breathe in more deeply than usual, down into your belly if possible. Expand your belly. Then exhale. Squeeze your belly. Your next inhale, you're going to breathe in again, expanding your belly. Exhale, contracting your belly. Then one time on your own. Good. Then back to your normal breath. Just observing your breath, observing your body, hearing your breath. Good job. As always, if you get distracted, if you start to feel frustrated, that's all normal. As best as you can, just bring yourself back to the present moment, feeling your breath, hearing my voice. I'd like you to feel your feet on the floor, feel your body against your chair, kind of anchoring yourself in the room where you are right now. Next, bring your awareness to a time recently where you took something personally. Bring it into your mind and bring it into your body so that it's right there. And allow yourself to feel what you feel. Excuse me. Sorry. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Noticing what your automatic thoughts are in this situation. He should, she should, they shouldn't have. Oh my gosh, just wait till I tell so-and-so. Why? What? You're just noticing what those thoughts are that you have or had in that situation. You're allowing them. Notice if you try to answer your own questions. He's just trying to, she's just trying to, and see if you can step back from that, because we don't really know. That goes into the kind of like mind reading. But just notice your automatic thoughts. Next, I'd like you to notice the emotions that you're having. See what resonates with you when I list these emotions. angry, frustrated, annoyed, indignant sense of unfairness. Hurt, left out, dismissed, rejected, or any other emotion you're noticing. You notice those emotions and then come to your body, maybe you already have, and notice what you're feeling in your body. Whether it's up kind of in your neck area, your chest, your hands, shoulders, in your head, in your stomach. Just notice where you're feeling all this. And be patient with that. Allow yourself to feel that. Don't try to push it away. Just allow yourself to feel that. Acknowledge to yourself that it's difficult to feel this way. It's hard. You feel kind of stirred up in those places where you get stirred up and upset. And next, what I'm going to have you do is kind of to flush through some of those emotions. Okay, we'll do some kind of a water thing and we'll flush them through. But before we flush them through, I want to tell you that by flushing through these big emotions, it does not mean that you don't have a right to feel angry, hurt, indignant, or anything that you feel. You do have a right to feel that way. And indeed, the situation has been difficult. And probably that person, if it's about somebody else, it would have been nice if they hadn't behaved that way. So what I'm trying to say is that you're justified in how you're feeling. However, do you really want to hold on to that feeling? All those feelings. Do you really want all of those to be living inside of you right now? And if you don't, then we can find a way to release them. And then actually you can have more clarity and decide what you do want to do and what you don't want to do. So that's what we're doing now. Feeling those emotions and everything you feel in your body now. You're worked up because of this time recently where somebody did something and you did take it personally. Let's picture it kind of starting to drain out of you. You know how those big blow-up swimming pools have a drain? We don't want it to bust open, break open and drain. Nope. We want you to open the drain someplace and start to allow everything, all those big emotions, to start to flow out so that the level of the water representing all those big emotions and representing overwhelm, it's flowing out. The water level is getting lower. You're allowing it to drain because you don't really want to be holding on to all of that emotion, keeping it residing in your body. So you're letting it drain, drain, drain out. You're keeping your own energy, but you're allowing all those emotions to drain. I'd like you to keep breathing as you're allowing these emotions to drain. Almost taking a picture of what you're doing right now. so that you can come back and do this similar kind of exercise anytime you want to. Then I'm going to have you come back to your breath, feeling your feet on the floor, feeling your body against the chair, your arms resting against the chair or your side. Coming back to this present moment now that you've almost taken a picture of this place you've gone to where you can allow those emotions to drain after you've validated yourself. And then open your eyes whenever you're ready. So this is a practice. As you notice yourself taking things personally, you're just trying to be patient with yourself, take some time later to sit and relax and explore what was going on, allowing the emotions and the feelings in your body, validating that you feel that way, and then starting to release those big emotions so they don't have to stay residing inside of you. Again, it's a practice. Next week, we will talk about underlying beliefs. It's number 9 in the series, 9 of 9. So it's the last in the series of automatic negative thoughts. And then on 2/5, February 5th, we'll start on a series called Basic Mindfulness. And we'll teach the basics of mindfulness for beginners. And it will also serve as reminders for those of you who are more familiar with mindfulness. It will just serve as reminders of some of the basics of practicing mindfulness. So I hope to see you next week. Thanks for being here.